We are in the presence of certainly Northwest marketing royalty, would be fair to say.
It's gone round a few times. It's when it started going around the world. This is crazy. Social Chain was just a huge moment in my life. Was MD, took it from 30 people to 130. It was so authentic. We worked with the biggest brands in the world. We just wanted to do really great work.
Yeah.
And we were thriving in that as well. I met Gary because he wanted to start doing his own LinkedIn. And in opening those conversations, I started talking to him about a bit of a project for Salford City. The other half of my role with Gary was helping set up the Overlap, which I'm incredibly proud of, and starting Stick to Football, which honestly is one of the best shows ever.
Katy, you've spent a lot of time with inspirational people. What are the kind of things that you've picked up from them or you've learned from them?
There's so much. One of the best things that Steve ever taught me, and I didn't realise that I was doing it, but it was about...
Brilliant. So welcome back to Talking Candid with hosts David Vernon, Aaron Cullen, and I'm Hayley Powell. And today we've got a very special guest, Katy Leeson. So welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's really lovely to have you on.
Oh, this studio is lovely as well.
Thanks.
No, it's very warm though. We tend to get guests in when it's like over 20 degrees and we shine the lights on and just see where it goes.
And it happens to be a very hot day in Manchester today.
Yes,
it's usually freezing cold and rainy, but it's 23, 24 degrees.
My thinning hairline is regretting today, I've got to say.
Yeah, you mentioned
I'm probably
that a
going to
couple
look
of times.
bald on this when we go back to it later.
Yeah, we can sort that out in edit.
It's
No
fine,
better
though.
place in the world though is there when it's sunny than Manchester.
Oh, absolutely.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It literally, the Northwest is the best place in the world.
Yeah.
100%.
So we are in the presence of, I think, certainly Northwest marketing royalty, would be fair to say. So for anyone that isn't informed, do you want to give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Katy Leeson. I've been in marketing for almost 20 years now. Started out in traditional media planning and buying for agencies like Mediacom. Did that for about 9 years in different places and realised that I didn't have any digital in my skill set and the world was changing, and if I didn't do that, I was going to get left behind. Stephen Bartlett started following me on Twitter, and I followed back. I started looking at what this small company called Social Chain were doing, and it was so creative, really exciting, seemed like a really fun place to be. So I opened up conversations with them and ended up getting a job there as operations director. And that was when there was 30 people-ish. And I was only, 32 at the time. And they all thought that the old lady was coming in to ruin their fun. And I was like, no, I'm still young, stop it. But it was just such a creative space. So much exciting stuff going on. It was just a brilliant place to be. And 6 months in of doing that, I was made managing director, which I stayed for another 5 years. So was MD, took it from 30 people to 130 in the UK, in Manchester, and ended up leaving there, which I'm sure we'll go into, just after COVID, and went to move to work for Gary Neville, where I headed up the media team for Salford City and also helped start the Overlap, which is his YouTube channel. And then beginning of this year, I've gone into consultancy. So I'm currently at Nadeem Arabi as marketing director.
I didn't realise you did the Overlap, you know.
Yeah.
That's literally my favourite podcast at the moment.
Honestly, the best thing
hilarious.
to work on ever.
And Gary Neville's brilliant, obviously, but Roy Keane,
Oh,
I can't believe how funny he is.
it's just brilliant. And they're all like that off camera as well. It's
There's
as
a
soon
lot
as
of
they
outtakes,
start.
isn't there, as well? And,
Yeah. You could just record it all and put it all out. They're amazing.
And obviously Cara and Wrighty, they're all good, aren't
They're
they?
all
Jill
good.
Scott, they're all really funny. I don't know,
Yeah.
do either of you two watch the Overlap?
I've actually not had a watch of that, no.
Stick to Football is one of the best things ever.
Yeah.
They're just
he's
their
not
relationship.
he's a rarity that's not a football fan. mate.
Yeah.
Well, even if you're not, though, the conversations that they have and the relationship they've got between each other
It's
is
not
really
really
good.
about football. So it's what made it. So, Gary, you know that jacket that I got for Dan?
Yeah.
Gary Neville had that on. So, you know that rare Adidas
Oh,
jacket
really?
with the Stone Roses?
yeah.
I got one for someone that works here.
Oh, nice.
Based off that because it's so rare.
Yeah.
And I think Gary was going to give it to Roy's son, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think that was what he said on the podcast. Yeah. Really rare,
Wow.
that jacket, mate.
I know,
I
I'm
didn't know
quite
it was that
jealous
rare.
of it. I really covet that jacket.
I wanted to get everyone one, but I could only get one. So
Fair enough. But yeah, Katie, that's a massive history. I mean, that's a lot of, variations of roles. It's a lot of experience. It's probably a lot of failures as well, and a lot of successes. Can you picture a moment in your career that kind of accelerated it and changed everything over the past 20 years?
When I think about it, every decision I've made in my career is based around my values, which I didn't know until I started recording my own podcast. I think when you start having conversations with people, it starts to make you think about yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you find that as well. It sparks different things.
Yeah.
And when I was doing my own podcast, we were talking a lot about, everyone came in and was like, my values, I live to my values. And I actually don't know what mine are. And I've just been going on bumbling along and it's been working out. But I spent a bit of time understanding myself. And actually my career decisions have all been based on learning. So when I feel like I need to learn something new.
Yeah.
So whether that would be internally at MediaCom, where I reached out to a potential new business client and we won it, and then I moved into the new business team. That was because I wanted to learn something different. When I moved to Social Chain, it was because I wanted to learn something different. And now that I've gone client side from with Gary and now at Morabi, it's because I wanted to learn something different. And it's like that urge to want to do it. So those are all been the moments that have kicked me on massively. Social Chain was just a huge moment in my life, and it's something that I'm forever grateful for, and I've taken so much from as well. But I think it's those micro decisions based on my values that have helped me get to where I am.
Yeah. And I definitely feel like the first time especially I heard of you is when you joined Social Chain. And I think I started my marketing journey as an apprentice. And so there was a lot of talk about this company that has a slide and how it's really cool. And, I wanted to work there myself at one point. And I think a lot of the businesses that started to, begin in Manchester because of Social Chain's influence, that inspired me to move to Manchester.
Has Katie seen your CV then? Not wanting to employ you.
But what I was going to allude to is, tell us a little bit more about your sort of journey at Social Chain, because I know that was a pivotal change for you, being at MediaCom previously, and then taking that heavy role of managing director eventually.
Yeah, I was enticed by the work and the work that they were doing and the creativity that they were doing. At MediaCom, I got very into the commercial side of things. I was running pitches, I was helping with contracts, which I was enjoying, but I've still got this creative side of me that I wanted to fulfill. So managing to go into Social Chain and be around all these people that were just doing amazing work was the thing that really got me in there.
Yeah.
And made me want to go. Obviously never knew what it was going to be, didn't we? Yes, it had a slide. Yes, it had a ball pit. Yes, it had dogs. Yes, we did unlimited holidays. But the reality was it was a group of people who just wanted to do really good work. And we often get called a cult. Like, there was a lot at the time. It's like we were called out for it. But actually, it was just a group of people from varied backgrounds who just wanted to do really good work for a company that they believed in the journey that we were on.
Yeah.
And I'm quite defensive about it, actually, because it was like the people that were in there, I've still got friends for life, but we were all so different. So many different backgrounds, so many different experiences, but the commonality was that we just wanted to do really great work.
Yeah.
And we were thriving in that as well. And because it was so authentic, that's why we managed to get we work with the biggest brands in the world.
Yeah. I think it is so interesting, the journey of Social Chain and, being the managing director and scaling it from 30 people. Like, what would you kind of like to say to yourself that you know now to when you were like scaling up the business?
That's a good question, because I suffered with imposter syndrome massively when they gave me the job.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was only in there for 6 months, and then I was ops director, still learning about what the company did. And the reason that I went there was to learn more about digital marketing. Yeah. So I felt like I was fresh into there, not really understanding things. And yeah, when I was put in this position of like ultimate authority, when everyone's looking at you for answers and feeling like you needed to know everything, it was terrifying, really terrifying. So I was really lucky because one of the benefits that we had was therapy. And,
amazing.
Because I was sat in meetings, I wouldn't say anything. I'd be sat back waiting because I didn't want to say something that was going to trip the company up, make them look bad, make it look like they're hiring people who don't have a clue what they're doing. So I used to just like wait and sit back and not say anything. But I knew that that wasn't really going to help me in the role. So the therapy massively helped me understand imposter syndrome, which I'd never really heard of before, even though 70% of successful people suffer from it. And it helped me understand that what actually I was bringing to the table as a managing director versus what I had in my head as what a managing director was actually the thing that would make me good at the job. So I think now, looking back, I'd probably say it's going to be okay. Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Because I think I got so caught up. There were so many things. As you can imagine, that scaling that quickly, so many highs, so many lows. And I think I wish I'd stopped to smell the roses a little bit rather than what's next.
That's the thing, isn't it? I think you probably, you're right now, 10 years ago you wish you could be. And then it's to stop wanting more, isn't it, sometimes?
But you never do, though, do you?
No, it's interesting,
It's
isn't it?
an interesting psychology piece that you get to a point and then you're always striving for more. And I think if you have that in your makeup of wanting to achieve, it constantly pushes you.
It does.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It does, but you can get trapped in it, I think, can't you? Yeah. I saw a post that you did, which was a interview with Stephen, and he said that you hired 9 of the 10 best employees that he ever had. And I think that you were probably the other one. And he said the key to running a successful business is being good at recruiting, which I found quite interesting because you touched on before that I think you said your digital strengths weren't that strong.
No.
And I would say that I'm technically wise the weakest in our organisation, but that's not my role. My role is to give these guys the tools that they need to succeed. I'm actually an idiot. But I think I'm pretty good with people, and I think as an organisation, we look at how you are on social, and I assume that's how you are personally, and I think we like it, don't we? And I think it's fair to say that we want to be that kind of organisation where we give back a lot. So I think it's very commendable, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, that when Steve came out with that, I was blown away because you don't hear it from the horse's mouth in real time.
No.
So when you're on that journey and everything's so manic and you're like...
He literally named you, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He named me, and I was very fortunate that on his latest tour he does it again. But Steve and I have got a great relationship. I'm so grateful to him, and the Steve where he is now and all of the fame and everything, I will always be forever grateful for. He backed me in ways that I won't go into, like personal stuff when I needed a bit of help that no one else will ever see.
Yeah.
So for me, like, very grateful for everything that I took from him. But for him to do that, it blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah, he didn't have to do it, did he?
No, he didn't. And it's great. It's great for me. Lovely ego boost. But it honestly was the people. Like, I just want to be surrounded by good people. I like, you spend so much time in work that I want to be with people that I want to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to be able to find the people that make my life a bit easier, because ultimately everyone wants an easy life, right?
Correct.
So if I can find people that I can hire that make my life easier, who are better than me, that make me look good, then happy days.
That's what we always say, isn't it? Hire people better than you, because if you don't hire them, someone else is going to hire them.
Yeah,
And you're
absolutely.
automatically behind then, aren't you?
Yeah, I want my team to know more than I do. I want them to be kind of pulling me up on things. And I think that's the way. It's about giving them the kind of, like you say, you give us the tools and we give them the tools to ensure that they can produce and deliver results.
So obviously, as directors, which we all are, your job is to steer people, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's called director for a reason, directing people, aren't
Yeah.
you? And it doesn't mean you have to be the smartest person in the room at all.
It's a very difficult transition, though, going from doing the to doing a director role. And I think that's another thing. I've not actually talked about this ever, so this is this is new, but you just sparked something in my brain. I really struggled with actually, when you start your career, you do all the do and you're learning and you're learning how to do your craft. And then as soon as you're in a position of more authority, you feel like you're doing less.
Yeah.
But the smaller things actually impact the business more. But in my head, I was like, I'm actually not doing as much. I'm not as busy as I was. But actually, I was making more of an impact. And it took me a long time to switch from actually doing the do to being a leader.
Yeah. Well, it's the on the business and in the business thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is, I always find it a bit of a weird saying, but a lot of the time when we're here, I don't really do that much. I just listen. I see how the staff are. I look at moods, look at when staff feel a little bit down. I know you both do the same, and we pick up on things. And I think, you know, we've had an incident recently where someone's working environment at home wasn't great, and it was purely a desk and a screen issue. And we've sorted that out, and the thanks we've got is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's a little things from us, but how much they mean to someone else.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what someone else is going through, do you? So for me, I was like, that might have taken me 3 hours to realise that he just needed a new desk. But
The impact long term.
yeah, the impact long term on his mental health and, you know, duplicity of the company's success is, you can't really measure it, can you?
No. And what kind of things do you look for in individuals, Katie? Obviously, you've hired a lot of people in the past. You know, I'm a big believer that it's not all about technical ability. You know, those things can be taught. What kind of things do you look for when you hire someone?
Personality, culture fit. And again, that's where we've fallen at. Like, I've had a bit of criticism in the past about talking about culture fit. But I think it's more about whether the person's going to come in and how they're going to interact with everyone else. So if they're coming in as a manager, are they going to be the right personality to lead the team that's there? And I think we had some of the most experienced people because, as you say, we were quite well known. So we used to have CVs from all over the place with so many different experiences. And I would turn them down if I felt like they were going to impact the culture across the business.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want someone in there that, yes, could do the job, but would ultimately damage what was so special about working in that environment. So culture, do you know what? I just care about people who want to do a good job.
Yeah.
That's it. People who care. That's my main thing.
You can't teach attitude,
No.
but you can teach the skills.
Yeah. Care. If you care and you want to do a good job and you're willing to put it in, and sometimes you've got to work hard, you've got to work the hours, you've got to dig in sometimes. And if you've got a team who care, then you know you're all on that journey together. So yeah, it's not really about experience for me.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. We've always looked at hiring based on attitude, and we always say that it's important to protect the culture because, you know, in a group of people, especially within businesses, you know, one person who's in power has an opinion, usually it becomes an echo chamber then because they start to follow that lead. And I think we've always looked at, you know, how can we protect that by hiring with the right attitude? So I completely agree with that, yeah. You also talk about burnout, and I know you did a post some time ago that went quite viral on LinkedIn talking about burnout. Can you tell us about your experiences with burnout yourself or seeing it within others as well?
Yeah, that post was around, I was seeing a lot at the time of people working at 2 a.m, like posting stuff in an office at ridiculous times, that sort of hustle culture. And I felt like it was being glamorized to the point where it was putting pressure on on me. I felt like I'm a leader. Should I be doing the same thing? But actually my energy levels wouldn't let me do it. So it was something that I felt like if I was feeling it, maybe other people were. And it did go a bit mental, that post. It went a bit viral. So, yeah, that was fun. It's gone round a few times. It's when it started going around the world. And I was seeing it going around like into Australia. I was like, this is crazy. But my own experience of burnout was definitely, like my worst time of it was definitely coming to the end of my social chain time. The COVID period was incredibly difficult for me. We had 130 people that were coming to an office. They loved the culture. The office was a big part of our culture. and the environment was a big part of what we were and who we are and our identity. And as soon as that was taken away, I had 130 people working from loads of different places and different scenarios, different circumstances, some with kids at home, some on their own, some in a flat sharing with no outdoor space. And it was around the same time that Steve and Dom exited the business. So they left in August of 2020. And I took that responsibility on myself, that it was my job to fix the culture when everyone was working from home. And I probably shouldn't have done that. And I took a lot on.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was like, I don't think I've got it in me to kick the company on again. We were always constantly chasing growth and we were doing great work and we were working with amazing clients. But I think I just had this realization that if the company was going to continue to grow, I wasn't the person to lead it.
Yeah.
Because I'd kind of lost my drive for it. And I got asked the other day, like, how do you know when you're hitting burnout? And it's, for me, it's when you lose the motivation for the things you used to enjoy. And I think that's where I got to with it. And at that point, thankfully, I was self-aware enough to realise that. Because I could have sat there, could have still been there now, could have carried on, could have continued, because I wasn't doing a bad job. But I think I knew in myself that it wasn't the right thing for the people and the team that had taken so long to build for me to carry on and just fade into the background a little bit.
Yeah, when your name's above the door, they say, don't they? It's it's not just the people that you employ; it's their partners, it's their children, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
It hurts sometimes especially when you've got to let somebody go. It really hurts. Is that the comfy slippers mentality, or is that something else?
Oh, the comfy slippers is around my learning. So I've always, like, there's been moments where I could sit and, so the comfy slippers definitely wasn't that. But comfy slippers is when I've been able to sit and do the job with my eyes shut. Like, I'd be quite content. I could just do it. I could just crack on and do it. But I always have this urge to want to push myself a little bit. And if I feel like I'm in that comfort zone, that's when I know I've got to jump and do something new.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. I've left comfortable positions in the past and started businesses, and people thought I'm absolutely mental.
Yeah.
And it's it's caused issues personally as well. In personal relationships, like what are you doing? I'm like, well, you wouldn't like me if I stayed in this position.
Yeah.
I would become the person that you didn't like in the first place. It's like when you ask somebody to change, isn't it? Why would I change?
Yeah.
I'm not the person that I would be that you liked in the first place. And I think that's because I've coming into this. Obviously, I've looked at a bit of social, and it does seem like you leave some pretty nice positions, and it looks quite brave. And a lot of people would think that you were a bit silly.
I am a bit silly. But no, I just know in myself when it's time. Like, if I've given all I can and if it feels like the company would be better. I always make decisions based on what's right for the business.
Yeah, I've always said the same here, haven't I? There's only so far I can take this business, and there will come a day, and I've always said that to both of you, haven't I?
I went to Relentless because I needed to get back into doing the creative work, and I've always had a massive passion for football. I've been going to watch Oldham since I was 6 years old with my dad.
I feel sorry for you.
I know. It's been tough.
That's
but
Luke's favourite team, Oldham.
Is it?
Partner, he goes on.
Yeah, you live in Royston, don't you?
yeah, I went to school in Oldham.
Oh.
Yeah. I've been going to watch the football with my dad since I was 6. So for me, like, the memories that I've got from that are like priceless. And I met Gary because he wanted to start doing his own LinkedIn. And I got introduced through a client that we were working with who knew him. And he was like, do you want to do my LinkedIn? And I said, no. I turned him down because it wasn't the right thing for Social Chain, and it wasn't the right thing for Gary for us to do that for him. But I introduced him to another company, Great Influence, who helped me with mine, and they're amazing. So they're still working with him now. But in doing that and in opening those conversations, I started talking to him about a bit of a project for Salford City. Saw some huge potential in Salford, like what they've got and the potential that they've got to grow audiences there is just like the story behind it is just so good. And it's this like local team with a really great heart, but also backed by people who've been in football and done the most incredible things in football.
Yeah.
So worked on a bit of a project for him. And it was at that point that I'd already decided to leave Social Chain and done all that bit. And he just said, why don't you come and do this for a job? So I did.
Yeah,
That was
I
it.
think the potential story of Salford is there's documentaries made about Wrexham, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's no reason Salford's story can't be as big as that.
Yeah,
You look
I
at the
mean-
people behind it. So it's Neville, but
Yeah. It's all the class of
It's
92.
Scholesy as well.
Scholesy, Giggs, David Beckham, Phil. It's all of them.
yeah, so they could
all-
literally make a documentary about that, and everyone would
one.
watch it. Oh, is there?
Yeah, it started on the BBC. It was their journey, but the Wrexham one's just massive. But yeah, the Salford one is BBC, and now it's on Sky.
Yeah, we'll have to cut that bit out because
Yeah.
I should have known that was a thing.
No, I'm going to publicly embarrass you now.
I'm not a United fan, but I
Yeah.
do like that squad. I
Is
must
it
admit.
Wrexham Ryan Reynolds?
Ryan
Yeah,
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
Rob
I've been
McAllister,
seeing
yeah.
loads
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that's it. And they've done an incredible job at marketing.
They have,
Wrexham
yeah.
and
It's Ryan Reynolds, isn't it? He's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like Rob
Rob
McElhenney
McElhenney.
because
I mean,
he's always
but-
sunny in Philadelphia. But
Yeah,
promotions
great.
have been amazing. They've just got promoted again, and now
2
they're
years in a row.
2 years in a row.
And
So
still
they're-
behind County.
their story is so good. But yeah, so that's why I went to work for Gary, and that just kind of run its course. I did what I could do there, and left them in a position where we had a great media team. I loved it. I was in and around training all the time, just being around the boys, and I just had a great couple of years, and it was just what I needed actually after being at Social Chain. And then the other half of my role with Gary was helping set up the Overlap, which I'm incredibly proud of, and starting Stick to Football, which honestly is one of the best shows ever. Yeah, launching that and doing a full campaign to launch it with all the outdoor and all. We did we did everything just to
Yeah.
launch that out, and it's going great guns. So,
Yeah.
yeah, very proud.
I must admit, his persona at the moment is one of the biggest in the UK, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
He's everywhere. I love him. He's obviously got hotels, hasn't he? And he had a hotel with Kerridge, and he took that out of there, didn't he? I think.
The restaurant, yeah, and that's opening again soon. Gary is one of the most incredible humans you could ever meet.
He seems it to me. He does genuinely seem. I touched his arm once at an award.
That's really weird.
Yeah,
That's a really weird thing to say.
I know, but it's
Went
like
up and touched his arm.
no. He walked past me. It was at an event.
Oh,
Did you reach out?
You were proper fangirl in there.
Oh yeah, I was stood at the bar. He walked past me because he was about to do a sports. It was a sportsman's dinner. He was about to do
okay.
his speech, and I touched him on the arm, and he looked at me like he wanted to knock me out.
He probably did.
But honestly, one of the most driven, the way his brain works, you'll go into meetings, and bearing in mind how many businesses he's got,
He's got one.
he'll go into a meeting about a specific business and he knows the numbers and he knows what's going on, and he'll bring stuff up that you've not even thought about, and you're like, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
But also one of the most generous, kind individuals. I feel incredibly lucky to be able to say I've worked for him and still value him as a friend.
I had a quick company's house search on him, just to see.
Because it's interesting, isn't it?
66 businesses as director.
What?
66, the
He's
number
a
was.
very busy
and you
man.
guaranteed he'd missed a few off there because he would have dropped his middle name on some and used it in others and things like that. So it'd be more than that.
He's a busy man.
How did that opportunity arise? Like, obviously, you were very successful at Social Chain and you did amazing work there. How did that opportunity come about?
It was because he wanted to start his LinkedIn.
Okay.
And it was basically, so to go back a few steps, I started raising my profile on LinkedIn and I didn't want to do it. I never wanted to be in any sort of public eye. And
Yeah.
when I started at Social Chain, Steve was doing his daily vlog.
Yeah.
And he had a cameraman following him around that he'd hired. And I was like, do not put me in the camera. I don't want to be anywhere near it. I don't want to be in the background. Just
Yeah.
let me do my work. I just want to come in and do good work.
Fair.
Then when he made me managing director, he said, it's one of my objectives to build a personal
no.
brand.
Yeah.
And because I'm determined, because I don't like to fail, I did it. But it took me a while to really figure
Yeah.
out what my why was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, one of the questions that I have about that is, you've mentioned about imposter syndrome, and that's something that I have definitely felt in the past. And funnily enough, one of my objectives is to build my personal brand.
Yeah,
but
that
how?
was set day before yesterday,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Oh, this is timely then.
Very timely. So what I wanted to know is like, how does that marry up with you you starting to build your personal brand? Does imposter syndrome ever get in the way of what you put out into the world?
Yeah, and I've started again recently. I took a break for 2 years from posting. A big thing for me was finding my why.
Yeah.
A massive thing, because I knew that if I was doing my work in relation to what my why was, then I knew that I would feel comfortable in putting stuff out there. So my why, what I realised, it came from doing my first talk, that I got a message from a girl who was like, I massively resonate with what you said. I'm in this career, I think it was finance or something, or tech. And she wanted to go into creative. So we sat and had a coffee. And then a few weeks later, she messaged me to say she'd got a dream job. And I thought, if that's what I can do by just telling my own story and stuff that I've experienced, and I can help one person, then I can feel comfortable with going out into the public domain with that, because I don't feel apologetic for that, because it's like, it's my experience. So if it helps one person in that, then I'm good. So that's what I did. And that's why I feel fine doing it now. But it took a while. It definitely took a while. And even now coming back with a lot of my new videos and my content, it still is a little bit like, am I being a bit preachy? Is this helping anybody?
Yeah.
Is this too much? But I felt like I'd built such a great community. I've got nearly 70,000 now on LinkedIn. And to walk away from that, I think I would have kicked myself later down the line. So,
Absolutely.
but it is possible. You've just got to find your own niche, because you've got to be consistent with it if you want to build a personal brand. But also it's like the reasons why you want to do it. And for me, it wasn't just about getting business in for Social Chain, which is what it did.
Yeah.
But it also just meant that I could help people, which is a core value of mine, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, I guess communities are built with authenticity, aren't they? You know, on LinkedIn, I feel like the platform's just littered with people reposting the same crap. Like there's no kind of, I'm seeing less and less authenticity on that platform, and it makes it really uninspiring. So when there's somebody with, you know, like a clear voice and a clear message, and it resonates with you, I think it means a lot to people.
Yeah, and I hope so. You don't want people to be judging you based on everyone else's activity. So it's that does niggle at me a little bit. But as long as I know I'm talking about stuff that I feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Did you see the post that was... I don't know if this was real or not, but it was someone who'd proposed to someone and then was like, and these are the things I've
Oh
learned
my
about
God,
sales.
yes, I saw that. Yeah, and you know what? I thought it was fake, because I saw it all over
is it not
Facebook,
is
but
it
it's
real?
not. It's real.
No.
It is. I found the original post that guy did, and it had hundreds of thousands of likes and comments, and I was like, no way, this is actually real. And it is a genuine like salesperson who's talking about the lessons he learned from proposing to his now fiance.
Yeah.
It's getting like X Factor auditions, isn't it?
It's
you know, when
sickening.
they build you up and they're like, oh yeah,
wasn't
well done.
that one where somebody helped somebody down some stairs with a pram, and then they went back up because their hair was wrong? Is that not one that's flying around at the moment?
I've not
And
heard
it
of
was
that
being
one.
filmed. She was like, oh no, my hair's wrong. So they went back up and they just helped her back down again with the pram.
It wouldn't surprise me. The stuff people put on LinkedIn these days.
I know.
I really like it when people shine a light and, you know, they do these sarcastic posts and, you know, they really shine a light on that inauthenticity, because I think it's just...
It's like no one's ever filmed
Nauseating.
themselves helping a homeless person after you. Why would you film yourself doing that? You just wouldn't, would you?
Virtue
Or like 10 things I learned from my all-inclusive holiday, like about business. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to find your why. So that's how I got introduced to Gary,
Yeah.
because I'd built that, and he wanted to build his own. So, very terrifying actually, because it was a call on Zoom with him and like loads of all the team, and it was just me, and I didn't know what was going on for it. That there was all these faces. I'm like, hi Gary Neville, this is mad.
I used to have a poster on the wall.
I touched his arm.
So yeah, that's how I got introduced to Gary, because he wanted to build his, and
Yeah.
then it carried on talking, and yeah, I'm still, as I say, very lucky that he's still in my life. Like now, even though I'm not working in the company, we talk all the time, and he's always like, come and talk to me about work. And I never say never that I won't go back. I've just taken a little bit of a break from it while I've got this niggling thing in me where I want to go off and do consultancy. I want to go off and help other businesses with their growth challenges, whether that is culture growth, business growth for agencies, whether that is client side for their community growth, social media growth. There's just so much that I feel like I can share. So yeah, Gary was amazing and told me to go and do it. When Marabi came up, he was like, I think you need to go off and try it because you love fashion. This is a new experience for you. It's a good thing to be part of. Another Manchester brand that's growing. So
it's getting pretty big, isn't it, actually? Because that's only an interim role, isn't it, I think?
It is, yeah. So I'm interim marketing director, date TBC. So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as well. You talk a lot about you know yourself finding your why and how that's presented opportunities along the way. How does one find their why?
Oh, that's a very good question. There are ways of doing it. It's starting with understanding your values, and it's all about knowing what puts the fire in your belly. There's certain things that give me energy, and if I'm living in those, then it gives me energy. And my why then comes from that energy source. Yeah, I'm working on something at the minute, which is why I'm being a bit
fair enough
cagey. But eventually, like all of the stuff that I'm doing in my content at the minute and talking about my values and the journey that I've been on, I want to translate that into something where I can help quite a few people understand their why and their values. So watch this space on that one.
Oh, bro. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek.
Yes.
And I feel like he's responsible for brands finding their why. So I was very inspired by him quite a long time ago when, doing workshops and stuff with businesses. So I'd be very interested to learn more about your perspective. So I'll definitely watch the
That's
space.
good feedback. I'll feed that into the team. Yeah, it's something that I want to do.
Just compared it to Simon Sinek.
Yeah, I'll take
Yeah,
I mean, a compliment.
a little one.
if you can explain the why for yourself and finding that within yourself, I feel like that would be just as brilliant.
I think it slots into so many aspects of your life, though, your working life as well as your personal life, and also from a managerial point of view, if you know your team's whys and your team's values, you can lead them so much better because you know that someone's driven by care, so you then get them to help with someone else in the team. Or if you understand each other, it just makes for such a stronger group of people.
We've discussed that before, haven't we? So, you can't just throw pay increases at people. Because some people just aren't motivated by money. And, £5,000 to a company might be 250 quid in someone's hand a month. It's not a life change. They might prefer 3 days extra holiday a year or be able to bring the dog in once a week to work. And it's about, and everyone's purpose, I guess, why, whatever you want to call it, is different, isn't it? And it's hard because when you running an organisation, you get conflicting whys. So, for example, Dave and Hayley will have conflicting whys, I would think, without going into too much detail. And it's about trying to make them work together, isn't it?
It is.
Because people can get frustrated. I've done it before when I was younger. I'm like, why are they not working? Like, why are they not doing this? And it's because they don't want to. It's as simple as that.
Or they don't get their energy at that time.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be more done from understanding teams, regardless of the size of the company.
It's really interesting that you talk about people getting their energy from different sources. And I know you just mentioned there about people work at different times and they're more energetic at different times. And that plays into, I guess, flexibility within businesses. How important do you think that is? And do you think that the current setup of remote working and working from the office, do you think there is a balance? Do you think working remote is better, or do you think working from the office is better?
I like to think of it as a flex in terms of working. See, I don't mind really where the team are as long as the work gets done and it's done in a good way. But on the flip side of that, there's something to be said about culture and building a team and longevity of wanting to stay with a company by being together. And I don't think you can fully invest in a company's mission if you're not together at some point. So it's a mixture for me. I do at the minute, I'm doing 4 days a week. So I do 3 days in the office, 1 day at home, because I can't get the admin-y bits done in the office that I can do at home. And for me, it's about freedom of being able to make those choices because I'm trusted to be able to do the job.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd like the world to be like, but not everyone's like that, I know.
Yeah. Do you think, fully remote businesses, are they doing enough to understand their team's values?
I honestly couldn't say. It's difficult to know because there could be some companies that are doing it really well. Yeah. I just know, talking from my own experience with Social Chain, as soon as we were all remote, it made life very difficult.
Yeah.
And everyone was saying the culture's changed. But then actually when it came to the point where we're like, right, time to come back into the business, no one actually wanted to come in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising because obviously the office and what I know it's like, these are just commodities. They're not like life-changing things, but was there not a lot of take-up of people wanting to come back then?
Dribs and drabs. And I thought it'd be because of the feedback that the culture's changed and it's not the same, that everyone would be dying to get back into the office. But the reality was that people wanted to work on their own terms, which is it's just made life different, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Post-COVID, it's a different working world, and people's expectations of work and what they get out of it and how they work have definitely changed because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worry about people's mental health working from home all the time, to be honest. I really do. I think so we do 3 days in, don't we? 2 days at home. And I go out when we're working at home because I don't like being on my own at home.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I go and work I've got a garden centre around the corner, or I'll go to a cafe. I just don't like it. Even though I'm not talking to anybody, it's just nice to be around people and that energy. And I do worry about those people long term, what that might be doing to them. Because we've had issues, haven't we, where people struggle just getting on public transport again.
Yeah.
And you just think
Train strikes.
Yeah, and exactly.
Even getting on the, like being around a busy train.
Yeah.
Health anxiety is massive, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's scary. I mean,
it's got a lot.
Thankfully, I don't think I've suffered from anything that bad. But everyone says that, don't they? That's the thing. But I know people that have. I've got a couple of brothers that have, and it's worrying. It's really worrying that people don't want to be around the world that they missed so much 5 years ago.
I worry about the people starting out in their careers as well, because I have thrived so much from the network that I built from the very start of my career. So people that I started out on my grad scheme with, one of my friends has just left TikTok. She was doing amazing work at TikTok, and now she's an MD of a social media agency in London. And if I hadn't have had that, we would never have had that friendship, because we just bonded because we were going through the same thing. And then it's like I wouldn't then have her to lean on, to ask questions to have as a friend. And that's what worries me. It's like I've benefited so much from my network of being around people 24/7. And
Yeah, so I started working in finance at 16. So I'm old school in the way that I network from a business point of view. But obviously I was wet behind the ears, and I'm used to being around people. And it seems like now everyone just wants a video call, and no one will actually want to come and meet you. And I don't like that. When someone says video call, that would have been a phone call for starters 5 years ago. It wouldn't have even suggested. What's wrong with a meeting and a cup of coffee? I don't think I like it.
No, it's a hard world to navigate, but I think it is just finding your right way of working and trust, like I say, with the team. As long as you can trust that the work's getting done and that they're getting stuff out of it that will help them in the future, and the company's future.
That's the key, isn't it? I mean, we always wish people the best, don't we? People move on, and it's always good luck. Do you need any help?
Absolutely.
Do you need a longer notice period? You know, it's just things like that, isn't it?
Oh,
think-
it's reputation as well, though. It's like,
Well,
I always used to...
Glassdoor can demoralise you, can't
Well, it can, but also it's like, I always would rather... Everyone has got contributions to the company's position at that time when they leave. So everyone has had a piece of the pie when it comes to the growth. So whenever anyone left at Social Chain, I would thank them for the contribution, regardless of their way they exited, because without them in the business, it wouldn't have been where it was, regardless of their position and what they were doing. Everyone has an impact on the company's story. So I would always thank them for their contribution.
Yeah. Everyone needs a right back, don't
we
they?
used to get people come back.
Everyone needs a right back, don't they? That's what Gary Neville says.
Yeah, they do. But we used to get people coming back. They used to leave and come back. And that was my proudest moment. It's like, yeah, you left, I get it. Someone was chucking money at you, or you wanted to go off and see if it was different. But then you actually realised that this was a great place to work. So that was like,
Yeah.
I was very pleased in those moments.
I've been in positions before I got offered, I resigned, got offered more money, stayed, resigned, got more money, stayed, resigned, was still unhappy.
Yeah.
Nothing was changing. And eventually I walked out of a job and I had a month off and I was so happy. I was so happy. I just realised that what my boss was doing at the time was trying to trap me with, it's called golden handcuffs, isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
And he was like, oh, you know, get this car and do this. And, you know, so it made it almost a position that I couldn't leave. So I don't think anyone's ever come back here, but we have a good relationship with everyone.
Yeah, it's important.
There's no animosities that I'm aware of anyway.
No, we're quite a relatively small team as well. So we like to, you know, keep quite a close group where, you know, everyone's looking after each other. It's not just about, you know, giving out beer or snacks and, you know, having a pool table and stuff like that.
That's not culture, that is it?
No,
having a
that's
beer
not
tap is not
culture, no.
culture. It's not culture.
And you know, when you cultivate, I don't think leaders can create cultures. I think they can look after it and maintain it, because I think naturally, you know, when people are you know, paid a good amount, they're treated well, they're respected, it kind of all comes together and it creates that positive culture, and it's up to leaders to maintain that. But I'm always a big believer that the people drive it forward, and it almost becomes like self-guarding as well. Like when you hire new people, it's kind of like they want to make sure that they're staying within the culture.
And I don't know if this is quite controversial, but if I was to be recruiting somebody and, you know, with our current company culture, I think I wouldn't hire somebody who wanted to work fully remote, because it doesn't align with what we're trying to build here.
I agree.
They could be the best person for the job, but if you don't want to work in the office, then you're not the right fit.
I completely agree. I mean, I'd rather we were in 5 days. I've always said that. I'd rather we did full time. It doesn't work for everyone, so I'm like, okay, no problem. So yesterday it was just me and David in, and you've got to find, you've got to find the best fit for everybody, haven't you?
Yeah, you do.
And but that's just because it's what I'm used to, and that, you know, that. But me demanding that everyone comes in 5 days a week, that's not going to work either, is it?
No, because people then rebel against it. I honestly think it's about, again, understanding yourself, understanding how you work best, and keeping that trust.
Yeah. We lost a member of staff because he wanted to work remote fully, didn't we? And we could see it coming a mile off.
Yeah.
I mean, he had personal circumstances going on, a new baby, things like that. But he's just like, we probably should have spotted that sooner. But you're never going to win them all, are you?
Nah, shoulda, woulda, coulda. There's always that.
You know, Katie, you've spent a lot of time with, you know, with inspirational people who have achieved amazing things in their life. You know, Stephen, Bartlett, Gary Neville. What are the kind of things that you've picked up from them or you've learned from them? Like, what are the most important key takeaways?
I thought you were going to ask who a favourite was.
Don't have favourites like children. You don't have a favourite child.
I've got 2 children, I have a favourite.
There's so much. One of the best things that Steve ever taught me, and I didn't realise that I was doing it, but it was about people wanting to be a leader within a business, and they were crying out. They were like, I want to be a manager, I want to be a manager. And Steve sat down with someone and was like, the energy you bring into the office is actually the thing that's holding you back. And I was like, And he said, if you are coming to the office with a negative energy and you're bringing that in, that vibrates on everyone else. As a leader, you have to, I mean, it's not saying you can't have bad days. Everyone's got bad days, but it's also understanding the impact that you have as a leader on everybody else. So he actually said you would never notice if Katie's having a bad day because she keeps it to certain people. And I had people that I lent on to talk about stuff when it wasn't going well, but I would never want that to filter down into the rest of the team. And him saying that, I was like, that is very true. Because if you want to progress in a business and you want to be a leader and you want to be leading people, you can't let your own emotions then wobble everyone else, because the impact of that is huge. It's like a tsunami wave. It starts as a small wave and it just builds and builds and builds. Yeah. So that was probably one of the most inspirational things that I took from Steve. Both of them, to be fair, have got traits of just knowing what is going to work before anyone else does. They've got this really incredible way their mind works when they can spot opportunities and be first to something before anyone else. Steve did it with social media, and it's what kept Social Chain at the forefront of everything. And Gary just knows what's going to work. And it's just mad the way that they've just got this weird intuition that they just know that something's going to be really successful, and it is. Like, you can't argue against it, because you just know. As soon as they come up with an idea and you've got to turn it around in a couple of weeks, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do it because I know it's going to work. And that it's very inspirational to be around.
Do you think it's lonely at the top?
Yeah.
Why?
It is. It's really lonely at the top because you can't share everything that's going on with everybody, because there'll be things going on behind the scenes that you can't let everybody else know about. So there was like client losses or people stuff, really hard stuff that we went through at Social Chain that I will never talk about, but just meant that we couldn't let that affect the work and the people and everything else going on. So you've got to have your cheerleaders. So Karen Blackett, who was very senior in Group M, MediaCom, she's just actually left. She actually said that in a meeting I was in a meeting with quite a few women in MediaCom, and she said that you've got to have your cheerleaders, people that you can fall back on, people that you can just vent to, and people that you trust, because it's incredibly lonely. So that's one of the reasons that I do my public personal brand, because I've been through it. So if I can help someone else in the same sort of position, it's good. But yeah, it can be very lonely.
Yeah, makes sense.
I like that cheerleaders. I've heard that before. I do like it.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's about having a good, family around you as well, isn't it? And people going, "Oh, you sure that's the right decision?"
Yeah.
Just get out of my way and just support me.
My dad is probably my best sounding board.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a clue what I do.
Yeah.
But he's just very So yeah, he's probably mine.
We talked about something similar in one of our previous podcasts, where it was like explaining to family and friends what you do is probably the hardest thing, especially when you work in marketing.
Yeah. My mum names the companies different all the time.
Yeah.
When I was at Social, when I was at Media, I'm like, why are you cutting them all down?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no clue going on. But they're very proud, which is nice.
Yeah.
I think it blew their mind because I don't talk about it very often. I'm not one to like blow my own trumpet. And when I went on BBC Breakfast on the red sofa, I think they were like, what the hell is going on? I was like, I have no clue.
Flicking through the channels and you was there on TV.
There I was on the red sofa on BBC Breakfast. Yeah.
I've seen another one of your posts, actually, which I think is quite relevant now of what you just said about you got two friends, Judith and Claire.
Judith and Claire, yeah.
And you did a very...
Yeah.
It was quite upsetting to watch, actually.
Oh, yeah,
the post. What do they mean to you?
So I am very fortunate that I have got life friends that I've had since I was at school. So both Judith and Claire, and there's another girl that couldn't film with us that day, Vicky. We have been friends since we were teenagers, and we've been through everything. But all of our journeys are very different. So 2 of them work in the NHS. One was a teacher, and now is doing different businesses with her husband. And then I've done a different career. They've got married and had kids. I haven't done that. So we're all very different, very, very different. But the one thing that there's just been moments where I've needed them so much more than I could probably articulate, and just having them in my corner and knowing that I've got that support system was the thing that kept me going at times.
Because in your post you say that you don't know if you'd be here if it wasn't for them.
Yeah, I had quite a tough time. I had a miscarriage about 5 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was tough, but everything happens for a reason. And that really hit me because I've always been I love life. I enjoy it. One of my values is fun, so I just bring that out in everything I do. But that was a moment in time when I just didn't know if I could carry on at that point. Yeah. It changes you.
It's understandable. It's not something I've ever been through, but I completely understand.
Yeah, it changes you. It does. And their support was so amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing.
You're very lucky.
I am incredibly lucky. I'm so lucky. I'm 40 next week and I'm having a dinner party with 24 friends that I just consider to be the nearest and dearest.
Oh, I love that. I bet your dinner parties are so interesting with your network.
Who are the other 21?
I know, I've got loads.
Who are the other 21?
I've got friends from school, friends from uni, friends from work, like just people, like I say, my network that I've collected along the way.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I'm doing it at Stock as well, which is Gary's hotel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Nice.
exciting.
It's interesting with friends, isn't it? Because I have a little group of school friends still, and then you meet work friends along the way. So a lot of what you just said about Judith and Claire is quite interesting because you've gone down different directions, and a lot of people go, well, "That doesn't make sense that you're friends, actually." Yeah. But you have those core values with someone, don't you? So one of my best mates is a truck driver, and you look at me and go, well, "You're a scrawny little finance guy," and one of your best mates is a truck driver. But there's just something there that keeps us together. Yeah. And then you meet work friends, and then you've got similar values on where you're going, but you never forget where you've come from, do you? Yeah. And I always find that quite interesting with my old mate, because you've got really old friends.
Oh yeah,
haven't you?
since
I think Haley has as well.
primary school.
Like old friends.
Yeah.
And you never lose them, but you will gain people along the way as well. And you meet them as work friends, but it's because your values align at that point in time, I think.
Yeah. I say that the girls from school, they're the love of my life, all of them.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's important to be seen
Yeah.
as who you are, because I think it's, building your career, people will see you differently, because you'll show a different side of yourself. But if you have them core people who see you as just your authentic self, they keep you grounded.
They
They're
certainly
like,
do.
shut up, why are you talking like
Yeah,
that?
I've got a couple of friends that very much do that as well. One of them works in recruitment and he's doing amazing work in recruitment, really senior, but he's like, why the hell are you talking about that on LinkedIn? Will you just shut up? I'm like, stop it, I've got to do it.
I've definitely had that as well. They're like, oh, you're a LinkedIn influencer now, because I'm like trying to post a little bit more, and I'm like, oh, leave me alone.
I know, just leave me alone.
So,
But yeah,
You
need it.
It hit me actually in therapy a few years ago. Because I got to therapy, and the therapist said, "So who are you?" And I started talking about my job, and she went, "No, I didn't ask what you do. I asked who you are." And I was like, "Fucking hell!"
Yeah.
It just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I'm like, these old lads that I've known since I was 11, they didn't actually know who I am.
Yeah.
It's not about what I do. I could be broke, and they'd still take the piss out of me.
Yeah. It's nice though, isn't it? Filming with Judith and Claire that we did was my insight into how they actually saw me.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk about work. When we get together, we don't talk about work. We just have a really nice time. But then outside, whenever I'm with anyone, it's the same sort of thing. It's like a lot of it is with me is work stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to sit down and hear what they actually think about me and why we're friends. And
Well, we just spent an hour talking about your work, so it's not ideal.
but it's useful, right?
Yeah. So who is the real Katy then?
God knows. Stupid. It's like clumsy, bit silly,
I would say you probably can't fasten your shoelaces right. You're
Why?
going to trip over those.
No, I'm not. They're fine. Who is the real Kate? I honestly, when I said I love life, I do. I just have a great time. I just take opportunities as they come. Love going on adventures. Love just saying yes to things. I read Yes Man. The film's awful, but the book is brilliant. And I think that just made me realise you live once, just enjoy it. I want to be in a care home when I'm 90 with the best stories.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Whether that's work or whether that's personal, it's like, what can I do just to maximise, squeeze every inch out of what I'm doing?
Yeah. I get it. You only got it, haven't you? You only got it once, haven't you?
Yeah.
And what's next for Katy?
It's a good question. I don't know. I never know what's next. Never had a plan. Just enjoy myself.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah.
That's my quote. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think.
Absolutely.
It's my time to have fun. That's where I'm at. I saw my business coach not long ago and he was like, this is your time now. You can make choices based on where you're working, who you're working with, based on the fun that you can have. And I thought, I love that. So, yeah.
It sounds really important to do. You know, you've had a very successful career. Like you said, you've got to enjoy yourself and have fun. Life's too short.
It
So
is.
I would completely agree.
I think you've earned a break.
I'd love a break.
Thank you so much for coming joining us today. And to our listeners, please don't forget to like, comment, rate, subscribe, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you, Katy.
Thank you. Thank you. Stick to football is one of the best things ever.